And on time. So last week I was over on our team side and just happened to ask one of the people, I said, it was the 30th of August. And I said, so how many appointments did you get this month? And he said, one. And I said, does one make for a real estate career? And he said, well, I had some personal things this month. I said, no problem at all. How many appointments did you have in July? 2. I said, okay, does 2 make a real estate career? 2 appointments a month. And I don't know the answer that I legitimately am asking because I don't know what his goals are to know whether that's the right number or the wrong number. But it made me go back to my calendar on my desk and I started counting how many days, work days we had left between now and the end of the year. And it's 80 from today, it's 80 days. And I went, okay, I'm a big believer that we are fortunate to be in an industry that we can turn it on a dime. In any 90-day period, I can go from 0 to 60 in a 90-day period of time in real estate. I mean, a teacher couldn't do that, a nurse couldn't do that, a doctor probably couldn't do that. Very, very few professions that you can go from not doing anything to doing a whole lot. And so I decided that would be our conversation today because we're almost at the end of the year. And what you do now is what's going to take care of your Christmas for your families, your first of the year kind of production. So I think this is a really good time to talk about it. And then I was at team meeting on Tuesday and they were honoring production and Nate's name came up as the top listing agent with 9 listings. So Nate, has been out of production and in a leadership role for 3 years?
About 18 months.
Okay, 18 months. That seemed like a whole lot longer.
Yeah.
But well, you were in a leadership down in South Valley also.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I was counting all that.
Yeah.
So in my mind, he'd been out of production for 3 years. And that made me think about me. For years, as Linda knows, I ran real estate offices as a team leader or branch broker or whatever you want to call it, regional director or things like this. And so after 30 years of being in leadership roles, got back into sales and didn't have an SOI 11 years ago because I'd given away every lead I ever got to my agents in my office because I wasn't in production. So I had no sphere of influence. I had to create, it was like being a brand new agent. Like Motley, it was like you were 6 months ago, okay? And I wanted us to talk about what are the things we could do with these 80 days so that where we are right now is different than where we're going to be in the end of the year. And so I asked Nate on Wednesday, he popped by my office, and I said, would you mind stopping in to the Rising Star Mastermind because I'm talking about you. You're my shining example of that I didn't realize until Tuesday that you're the perfect example. So will you tell them what you did these last 30, 45 days to go from 0 to 85 miles an hour?
Yeah.
I mean, you're speeding.
So the first thing was knowing the numbers and having fun. So I had a business plan already for the year, and I had to reevaluate that because I left leadership halfway through the year. So I had to see what my gap was and if I needed to realign with my goals. So I took a look and I found out that my gap is 7 closings. So normally, like 3 years ago, I'm very much of a person that chases the closings. So in my mind, I'm going after closing. And in real estate, we really need to be looking at appointments. And it took me getting into leadership and having the ownership group and the region counting appointments and not necessarily agents that we're bringing in as the metric that
It's the lead
It's
the lead metric.
Yeah, the lead metric.
Yep.
So I found out that my gap was 7 closings, and from there I realized that I need to have 3 to 4 closings per month to catch back up. knowing my conversion rates, I know that that's 7 appointments per month. So, we didn't even set that up, but that's my, like, what is success in real estate? For me, it's 7 appointments per month.
So question for you.
Yep.
So if you have to have 7 appointments a month, does 7 appointments equal 3 closings or 4 closings? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
So you have about a 50% conversion rate.
Yep.
Okay, that's what he's talking about, is what is your conversion rate?
Yep.
Everybody's will be different.
Yep, exactly. So then I said, what activities can I do consistently that are gonna lead to 7 appointments? So my source, and I got my sources on the back here, but I want to go over the sources that actually got dynasties last month, okay? So the first one is a team or the brokerage team. So we have a brokerage team called Team Ridge or the Roost, and then a lot of you guys are on the Stern team with a big database. So I don't want to make this a Roost commercial.
No.
Because
But I also
what
want
the
them to
Roost-
know about
yeah,
the Roost.
What the Roost is a database and high accountability, much like a team. But you still have your own independent costs and everything with your business, right? What it is not is a magic pill. You don't sign up for the Team Ridge or the Roost or brokerage team and just magically get 9 listings. It's still the same work. It's still receiving the incoming leads to your phone, contacting within the first 2 minutes, and trying to set an appointment as quick as possible. The reason I got into Roost is because I knew that we were doing 75 hard, and I don't struggle to make the calls, I struggle to set up who I'm going to call. And so if I had a database all of a sudden of 5,000 people, that takes that stress off me so that I can just dive in and make the calls.
So question.
Yep.
A lot of people, even though they have a database, and I know you have a database because you've been in real estate a long time, a lot of people are nervous about calling their own SOI. Cammie and I had that conversation lots of times. So was it easier in your mindset, maybe this didn't play a factor at all, to go, wow, there's a database of 5,000 people and they're strangers. So I don't care whether they like me, know me, or anything else. I'm happy to be rejected by them. That's easier than calling my own SOI.
100%.
Okay.
So I have SOI.
How many of you feel that way? Yeah, I mean, it's a real common feeling.
Yeah. So SOI, side note, I always have to have an event or value going on to contact SOI. So I know that about myself, so I know that 4 quarterly events, 4 Popeyes per year, and then 2 charity events per year are going to be my ways that I can contact my database in a comfortable way for me.
Next question.
Yep.
How many people are in your SOI?
My private SOI
Your private
is
SOI.
about 409.
Okay. So 409 should produce about 48 closings a year. And so I don't know that you could have gotten the closings up as fast using that method as using the sheer qualities and the quantity.
Yep. So
Okay,
my
Roost,
problem was
okay.
is I have a good pipeline, and I do have a good database of nets and furnitures, but that's not the right now business, and that's what I needed was right now business. I got my business in the spring. My business is 92% SOI, so I sold 8 houses this year, and I think probably all 8 were SOI sourced, but those were much slower than what I need right now in business. So one of my listings came from the Team Ridge last month. That was an incoming lead that I was able to call and set the appointment with. They interviewed 2 agents and ended up picking us. So that was one source. The second source was farming. So I did door hangers in my personal neighborhood, and this is a theme that I've used for 2 years in that neighborhood, and that's, who's more invested in keeping the value of your property up than your neighbor? So who's more likely to get you the most, right? I'm the most invested. So that got me a listing that's live now, and then I served the farmer on that listing. I took crumble cookies to the 4 homes nearest and just said, hey, my name is Nate, I'm helping our neighbors sell their home. I actually live 2 doors down from them. We're likely to see increased traffic. People aren't all the time considerate of where they're standing or where they're parking. So just wanted to do, a little gift before we go live in case there's any major inconveniences. Had a 30-minute conversation with my 8-year-old neighbor in a 2-story that can't stay there anymore anymore, so we're gonna go get retirement facilities for her. And that was not even in there. Okay. The others were, so I do want to get honesty here. Of the 9, 6 were from a family trust. And I was intentionally talking to people that could get me more business. So with the 75 part, 10 contacts a day is easy for me. Because I was probably already naturally doing 5 to 7 anyway. So what I've been trying to do with the 75 part is who are the most influential people that I can have a conversation with. So those people look like people that I know that are elderly and have a trust. So those are the 6 listings that I took all at once this last month. So they were in, I would call her extended SOI. So she was invited to our wedding 5 years ago, but I probably haven't talked to her for 4 years.
You thanked her for the present, that was it, right?
Yep, probably. Sent her a thank you card 4 years ago. But I had extra Popeyes, and I had my database with me on my iPad, and I was like, oh, I'm 2 blocks from town. I should go say hi to her. Popeye, she herself was looking at moving. I said, hey, that's great. And then I asked the question, is there anyone else that you know market's top right now that's, trying to do something with real estate or has real estate goals that I don't know? She goes, well, yeah, but we have a bunch of land, but I know you don't do land. And I said, oh, I actually do land. And she's like, oh, well, I'm in a trust with 12 of my siblings, and we're going to start dispersing the entire trust because some of the trustees are getting ill and they're going to dissolve it all. So I got 6 now from that trust, and I'll probably have another 6 in the next 6 months from that one contact. 6, 7, 8. What was my 9th one? Oh, investors. So I did a asset management for my investors. So I took their. It helps if you know when their leases renew, which I didn't know on this one. So 2 months before the lease renewed, I ran a rental report showing what they should be getting currently in net or in rent. And then I did a CMA and net sheet to show them both options. And then we had a conversation around that, and they realized that they weren't making as much as they thought they were, and they want to go buy a place in Mexico, so that can help them sell their investment property.
So question on that one, because that's a really unique and fun idea that I like personally. When you called your SOI, did you make at some point in time a dialogue about, do you have any investment properties?
Yes, so that's always been a foundation of my business because that's how I started. So when I started, I was 21, and to get my SOI at that time to buy, I had to go the house hacking route and just get into something inexpensive. And then I've helped several of those guys move up and keep rental properties. So I had the advantage of them kind of knowing that I do a lot of investments and asset management. What I did do after one of Justin's wealth building classes, though, is I did do an intentional database reach out that was asset management focused. So, and that looked like, hey, everyone knows what a property manager is and does. Here's what they don't do, and that was all the asset management stuff.
Would you share that with me, and I'll share that with the group? Thank you.
Yeah. And so then I just said, hey, if you know investors, you know people who make wealth in real estate, then let me know. I'm happy to run all the numbers for them.
Well, and I just think honestly on any of mine that own rentals, knowing 60 days before when their lease is coming up to do a rental review and see what their rents are going for in that area and how much are you currently getting for yours. And
even if it doesn't lead to a transaction, they could be happy doing it. Maybe they have the ability to take some equity and continue on that legacy of building properties, or maybe they're just really thankful that you cared enough to once a year check in on their wealth.
Well, and I think it's pretty common for most of us to do a CMA or offer to do a CMA every year for anybody, just to check the asset they live in. But going the step farther on their investment property is a really good idea.
Yeah. And that came from just personally, Justin helped me review my investments, and there was one that I thought was making me the most money, and it was making me when you actually release money, when you looked at the numbers. And I thought, hey, there's gotta be a lot of people out there that think they're cash flowing, and in reality, they're not.
All right, questions you have, Linda?
I have a couple of comments.
Okay.
First of all, no's are wonderful, because when you calculate how many no's you're gonna get, then you get excited. My ratio is 7. I get 7 no's, and then I know I'm gonna get yes.
I get 26 no's. I do the same thing, minus 26.
Maybe I'm a-
You're a better talker than me. Okay.
GCT, you know, you see, kind of crap. CTC, people.
What's the other thing?
The other thing is, it's a good time of year to reach out to your people with the CMA, because what did they just get in their mailbox?
Tax notice.
Yep, they got their tax notices, and so you do a CMA on their house and just tell them what the value is, and it might be that they're being taxed more than what they should. So you take 4 or 5 houses in the vicinity, I don't know what you like to talk about.
Well, we've had a class on that. And so I think people are working on that. I already got my first call from another agent this morning. So I think they're working on that. And I do agree, this is the time of year where whether they're doing tax protesting, which, you know, they have, 11 more days to do that, or whether it's just end of year time to evaluate your assets.
It's wages to take a look.
It is. Well, and I'm like you, I want to always be calling my SOI with an event or a something to invite them to. That is how I've done my business also. And so just having that conversation, I do the same thing at the beginning of the year after we meet with the forecast breakfast. I call everybody in my SOI and say, let me give you a quick update about what happened last year and a forecast for this year. And so that's my first quarter annual call anyways. So I think you could make this, let's look at your assets as your end of year call really easily.
Or even let them know that's your expertise,
Mhm.
and you can do it for friends and family.
Right.
If you're gonna
Yep.
talk about taxes, let's see about how we can adjust that if it's a possibility. I adjusted
Yeah.
my own last year, so.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a fight, but I stood strong.
Good.
I will just say as a last thing, so those are the sources, and the sources are great. Pick whatever sources you're gonna actually do. I'm not a big cold caller, so the 75 part is nice for me because it's 10 a day. I don't have to lock myself in an office for 3 hours. But a cold, like Josh is a cold calling machine, he'll call for 8 hours a day. That's great, that gives him energy. So pick the things, like 3 to 5 things that you're going to actually do consistently and do them. Because one thing that I've run into is I like nice new shiny things. So I'll go to a Rising Stars class and Lee will give us a list of 30 places to go and get listings. For those 30 days, I'm gonna try one of those every day, right? And that's not what works, it's the consistency of doing the things.
Yeah.
So really, 75 hard has been kind of that magic pill, if you will. But you still have to work.
So let's wrap up on the Roost for a second.
Yeah.
So you signed up with the Roost. How long a period of time do you sign up for if you choose that?
So it's at will, so you're.
To do it
in,
for
and you can get
a
out.
month or 90 days or whatever you want to do.
Yep.
So it's just a way to quickly get you back running fast.
Yeah, and that's in my GPS. I have my GPS sourced to where I know exactly where all the deals are gonna come from and how many are coming from each source. And the last item on my GPS is use the KW Salt Lake Team Ridge as supplementary lead source if I don't always have 2 pendings.
Okay? So that's his plan B.
Yep.
Got a plan B in place. All right, let's talk about the 75 hard. So for those who come to the office's team meeting each week, you've heard about it because they've talked about it virtually every week for, I don't know, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. So a 75 hard was a challenge that Linda put out to everybody that said for 75 days, you are committed. Hard means committed. That you will make 10 real estate related conversations a day. Could be by phone, could be door knocking, whatever you want, but 10 a day. That you'll send 1 CMA per day, out. So that could be market recap, comps for somebody in your SOI.
I started in old expireds. Hey, I saw you were unsuccessful in selling your home last October. Thought a CMA and that sheet might be useful.
Something like that. One open house per week. Adding 2 people to your database, including socials. And this is per week, right? Is that 2 per week or 2 per day?
2 people to your database, that's per day.
Per day,
You're
okay.
doing 10 conversations.
10 conversations, so you can usually do that. Agent referral contact outside your current network. So I've got some people around the state and country that I do referrals with. So that means going out and extending, going farther than I have. For example, I don't have anybody in Denver. Maybe I need to get on the phone and call Denver and talk to a team leader in Denver and say, you know, if I have business in Denver, who is the agent I should refer them to? And then get on the phone with that agent, introduce, and see if you can do some back and forth. Send 1 personalized card. Pretty easy if you've had 10 conversations to send a thank you card for visiting. So that's probably the easiest one on the list. And then read 5 pages daily from either the MREA, the Shift Book, the One Thing, playbooks, or 10 minutes on a growth or sales podcast. So, and I've got copies of this for everybody, so you don't have to write it down. And that's 75 days. Well, goodness gracious, we have 80 work days between now and the end of the year. So it is not too late to sign up for 75 hard, okay?
But start today. There's the day that you're sick. There's going to be the day that you're doing holiday stuff.
Yep. So let's go back to what started this thought for me. And that was that conversation I happened to have outside my door on the 30th of August when I said, how many appointments did you get in August? So I don't need anybody in this room to answer the question aloud, but I want to ask you that question. How many appointments did you set in the month of August? You know your number? Okay. Is that a real estate career? Was that enough to generate what you need? I mean, whether you're Nate and you know you need 7 closings, or if you need 2 closings, or whatever your number is. I am not here to try to tell you what your goals need to be. I'm here to ask you, are you doing the things that get you to whatever your goal is? And if you're not, are you committed to do that? Or are you really not committed to real estate? And by the way, nothing wrong with not being committed to real estate. I've always said to people, not everybody was born to wake up unemployed every day. That's what you do if you're a realtor. Unemployed every day, that's how you wake up. And are you excited to go find an employer? Because if that's not what you do, then maybe this isn't for you, and that's okay. Nobody says it has to be. But what I don't like is dipping a toe in. Well, I got an appointment today, so I think I'm going to go home. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. And then 4 days later, they might show back up again and go, yeah, I didn't get one yesterday. I better get one today. I don't know what the hell happened on Tuesday and Wednesday. Nothing, because they weren't here. But you know what I mean? You're pretending. You're faking it. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to me. You're lying to the people around you. What are you willing to do? So that's what I want the rest of this conversation, the last half of this class, to be about. What are the things you're willing to do? If you're already there, so be it. I mean, if you're already on track to do your 7, I'm not here to ask Nate to change a damn thing. Okay? He's doing it. But are you where you want to be? And if not, are you committed to what? Thank you, Nate. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Like I said, 9 listings, I went, oh hell, he's got to come to my class. That's what I'm talking about. But he is a great example of how you turn your business on a dime, guys. Pay attention to that. I remember when I left my job at Midvale and came over here, and the agents over here or over there, who I adored and adore, would call me and say, "How you doing?" And I go, "Oh, great, I got 3 closings this month." And they're like, "Huh?" I said, "Oh, yeah, it's been going great." And I realized they really thought I was going to have to struggle like I was new because I'd been out of it so long. I think what they failed to think about is that probably nobody had role-played scripts more than I had role-played script in all those years of managing and coaching agents. So I had a very big advantage there. But that may be one of the things is, what is your script? I mean, I sat in an open house last week. I popped into Kelly's open house on my listing, and we had some people come in, and and I'm sitting in the living room trying to be quiet, but the lady bonded with me, and Kelly said after she left, he said, "I've been to your class, but that was amazing to watch how you interact with people." Maybe that's the thing you're needing to work on. I don't know. I need you to evaluate where you're at and where you want to be, and what does it take. Can I start with you, Josh?
Yeah, so I mean, August was slower than I would have wanted to be, so I kind of committed myself to setting 3 appointments a week instead of 2. Just like you said, get back on track. So just up to myself from just 1 appointment a week, and I think that will put me where I want to be.
You know, momentum is a funny thing. It works both ways.
Yeah.
If you get out of the habit of getting 3 appointments a week, suddenly you're getting 1 appointment. The momentum will carry you right on down to the bottom. And if you're on that roll to get 3, suddenly you'll get 3 and 4.
Yeah.
It's like momentum works both ways for us. So the simple change of saying, I'm going to do 3 appointments a week instead of 2. And then what are you committed? What activity are you committed to do to get to 3 instead of 2?
I think be more intentional with my calls. I mean, I think sometimes I'll come in and scroll the MLS forever.
Okay.
I think just be more intentional with actually sitting down and actually making my calls. Put a dialer on and just calling while I scroll the MLS.
Okay.
That's what I want to do.
Okay.
But yeah, just be more intentional with my calls.
So I had that problem for years and years. And I found for me, now remember, I'm not the tech girl that you're the tech guy, and I'm not. Scrolling, not my thing. Every night before I left the office, I would put on the corner of my desk the names and numbers of everybody I was calling the next day. Whether that was FSBOs, expireds, my SOI, it didn't matter. The list was on the corner of my desk, along with the script I would be using that day. That was the last thing I did before I went home each night, because I don't make good decisions in the morning. So there are always emails to look at, or maybe not scrolling, but I had other things I could do just as well as you could. So I found if I just had them sitting on the desk, then when I came in the morning, I dropped my stuff, grabbed those, and I moved to an empty cubicle. And I made my calls. That was the only way I could just make sure I started first thing in the morning. So I mentioned that to you all because we all have distractions. And if you don't have a plan in place and know what that plan is, then the next morning it's sometimes hard to get up, or hard to get out of the house in a timely manner, or hard to get there, or you know what I mean, you get a slower start. If you know where you have to go and what you got to do, and it's all sitting right there ready for you and just waiting, you'd be amazed at how much more proactive you are. Okay. Do you know how long you call each day, or is it by Wednesday if I don't have my 3, I have to, is there a plan B to get to the 3, or are you just certain you're going to get to 3? What happens if you don't?
I always hold an open house, and that's kind of my last resort. So
Okay.
I try to, obviously minimums 2. And the open house is my last resort, so I'd be super intentional about the open house.
Okay.
Which I tried to do this week, but everyone will do it, which sucks.
Mhm.
Happens.
It does.
So that's why I try to hold one every week.
Okay.
I'm pretty good about that.
Okay. Stop trying, just do.
Yeah, well, I do hold one every week.
Thank you. Appreciate that change. Okay. All right, Mark.
So I'm setting the reset button because I'm trying to work out with the dual career,
Mm-hmm.
how to work that.
Okay.
But you're right, if you're not doing stuff intentionally daily, mine's going down.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure
Why don't you pass those out to everybody?
and then, going out there and
Okay, and as you've heard from Nate, that farming does work. So that is another good thing to be thinking about doing. If you don't have a database that's large enough to support your goals, or you can't make yourself call those people, then there has to be another plan. Matla, before you go, let's ask you your question about where you're at and where you want to be in this next 80 days.
I'm in Slack.
Okay,
I'm that one that dips their toe, and I need to get out of that. I need to start making the phone calls.
so how are you going to do that,
So
Matla?
I'm trying to hit the 25 a day.
Okay, so I don't want anybody to try.
I will be hitting the 25 a day.
I hit 25 a day,
Yeah. So I'm gonna actually try this.
and we're not going to try anything.
We're gonna do it. The
We're
only
gonna
thing is
call.
Open houses every week. I don't, family situation, I don't know if that's the one I will be able to hit, but I will be hitting the rest.
Okay, so let's talk about the open houses for just a second. You could do 2 open houses on a Saturday, and then do
during
them
the week, yeah.
2 during the week. You maybe do 2 on a Saturday and another 2 on another Saturday, and that gives you half your Saturdays free, or 2 during the week. So there are ways to get the 4 without committing to a Saturday.
Yeah, you're completely right. So, I wanna do this.
No, we don't want to. We're either doing or not.
I need to do that.
Needing, we don't need to either. We're either doing or we're not doing. We are doing.
I'm leaving the room with
We are doing.
I will do it.
Okay. And who's going to hold you accountable to that?
Miss Cammy?
Okay, Cammie, and if she doesn't do it, then what is the consequence?
She's gonna come pull weeds at my house.
She's going to what?
Pull weeds at my house.
Okay, good, good. How many hours of weeds is she going to pull?
Oh, I haven't decided that. 2.
2 hours of weeding?
Yeah.
If she, yeah, 2 hours of weeding if she doesn't make it for her week with a perfect week. Okay, and what does she get if she does do all that? Okay, I like that. Are you okay with that?
Yes, that is completely fine.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Thank you for staying long enough to make that commitment.
Yeah.
Okay,
I will do it.
all right, all right.
Get back on it.
So I want you to think about both Brian, or both Josh and Matla, and I'm betting all the rest of us. We say things like, I need to, need has nothing to do with it, we're either doing or not doing. I'm trying, no, we're either doing or not doing. Trying is not something we are having anything to do with production. We are either doing or we're not doing. These are choices we make. And there could be a day, Matla, as a mom of several kids, that you can't do one day. Let's pretend. One of the kids is home sick and you're having to run to doctors and choosing to be the mom, and that is the right choice on that day. What happens when we have something like that? How do we then stay on track? We could double down the next day. We could do it on a Saturday. I mean, how many times have you gone to an open house where you took a list with you and make calls? I do it. Okay, I always have a list to call at an open house. You know, that those 20 minutes that they're not there, and I always say, I'm at an open house, and that way if somebody comes in, I go, car's coming up, I gotta go. But you can use that 2 hours in a productive way. So what you erase to take care of a kid or something, you then replace elsewhere, okay? So you have 7 days in a week and only 5 of them you need to work. Figure out how you're going to do it every single time, okay?
Is this Saturday and Sunday also?
It's 75 days, and that's made up of 5 days a week,
Okay.
okay? 5 days a week, so you could do whatever day. So if you needed to make up a day, you could have a 6-day work week the next week and make that up. Or you could double down in one day and say, instead of 10 people, I'm talking to 20. But if you have to erase it for a reason, and Nate gave you examples of that is what happens, and it is, then you must replace it elsewhere, okay? So because you're about to become her accountability partner, if you'd stay for one more minute. Cammie,
I don't know.
well, if you're not gonna be her accountability partner, I will be her accountability partner. I'd be happy to be her accountability partner. Okay, so Cammie, tell me a little about your goals, your business last month, what it means, listening to this, what are you committed to?
So I started already because my last month was not where I wanted it to be. And we talked about my SOI is not my funnest people to call, but I have committed to calling 20 SOI every day.
Now, is that talking to 20 or dialing 20?
It was dialing. It
So
started with dialing.
I never care how much exercise your fingers get.
Right. So the first 2 days started as dialing, but today's Thursday. Tuesday and Wednesday, my goal was then to speak to 20.
Yes.
And so I fell short by 2 yesterday. I was here till about 5:30 and then had an appointment at home, so I had to go. But, so I've got to make up those 2 for today. But yes, my goal is to then talk to 20 every day.
Okay.
And then
Can you do these other things, or do you not need to do? And it may be that you don't need to do them.
I could do, I don't know that I need to do all of them, but I like the idea of the personalized card. That's something I've always tried to do in the past before, and then I kind of got off that train, so I can definitely implement that one.
See, when you try to do things that doesn't work, you either do them or you don't do them.
So
That's the
I have
truth.
a stack of cards now in my desk, so that, because there's been times when I explain to you what I've done, you're like, great, well now send off a card. I'm like, oh, so now I have a stack of cards
Yeah.
in my desk, so when I make those 20 calls and make those contacts, I can then pick one to write a card to and get that done, because they're in my desk, they're there now, I can't do that.
Okay. So 20 a day, how many days a week?
I
5, so 100 a week. Okay.
need to get back into the rhythm of talking to my
I don't care. I don't care what you need.
I have it.
I don't care what you need. Are you either doing it or not doing it? Doing it? Okay. So I'm talking to 20 people a day. Okay. I would write some of these things down and put them on cards. I talk to 20 people a day and have great conversations. I mean, that it needs to say that, and you need to read that to yourself before you start. Okay? I do an open house every single week and pick up buyers every week. Write that down. Read that. Instead of saying, I need to, I want to, I'm going to, make it present tense, already doing it. Make it excited.
Stroke it, because I was terrible. I'd be like, I think I talked about 20 a day. So I have intentionally been keystroking.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
keeping track, and it took me longer to hit that 20 than I thought because I was actually.
What you focus on expands. You know, Linda said she talks to 10 or 6 people and gets an appointment, and I'm 26. When I first started tracking mine, it was over 100 people to get an appointment. Okay? But once you start tracking it, then suddenly that number comes down and down and down.
When we talked about that last week, I forget, it was 20 something, but it was less than 26.
Yeah.
And I got one and was like, oh, you're like, you're better than me.
Yep.
I started keeping track. I'm past that number now.
Yeah.
So clearly my average isn't going to be,
But it might be by the end of a month.
it might be.
Yeah. But isn't it cool to know that? I mean, Linda can know if she wants to have $10,000 for something. She could go in her office, shut the door, and make 6 damn calls. And it's pretty much guaranteed she's going to have $10,000 in 30 days. I think there's power in owning that kind of business. But you can't do that if you don't know your numbers, if you're not tracking your results. And your results will get better if you're tracking. And if you're failing to track, it's just a guess, and you never feel in control, and you never really own a business. Okay? All right, I will hold you accountable. Barbara.
Just like everybody else, nervous to call my SOI, so I actually don't mind the cold calling, because I don't really care.
Right.
They don't like me, and I've gotten a few of those, I'm just like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I've had success with the roost. I vet, I do read the notes, I call the ones that I think, excuse me, have the right situation when I call them, and I've gotten 2 really good leads. I set an appointment this month with one who said, son just had a stroke, went in the hospital, but I'm interested, give me a call, let's speak. And I did, and we're ready to meet. So she's ready to make a move. I have someone who wasn't expired, I called him, he said, well, yeah, actually, I think I'm gonna be selling my house. Give me a call in September, so I'll be calling him.
Good.
Good success.
Did you write notes to those people, by the way?
I've got all, yes, they've
Okay.
already gotten
Good,
communication.
thank you.
Then my open houses have slowed. My role playing has really helped. I hit LP Mama every
Good.
time. And I've got buyers who are waiting, that said, hey, this is what I'm having a little bit of an issue with. How to handle those ones that are waiting, you know, I can only invite to so many things, I can only talk about interest rates so much. But how do I give them the motivation to move
Okay.
forward? So I'm getting pretty good results at the open houses too.
Okay, so that may be a secondary conversation or one for next month's mastermind?
Well, I'm actually just started making up a flyer yesterday, Canva, there's something wrong with the link, because I'm gonna be doing farming. I've got 3 condo communities that are near me, I've got friends in all of them, so I've been into all these different units. And I'm looking at them going, wait, I missed that one, you need Betty's moving? So, I woke up and I smelled the roses. I need to
Okay.
do some of the flyer handouts, and that's what I'm working on this
Okay.
week.
So what are you committed to
I'm committing to.
for the next 80 days?
I'm committing to doing, I do 10 phone calls a day.
Okay.
And that's work for me,
Okay,
because I do it between 9:30 and 11:30.
okay,
Except for here, in our meetings. But yeah, I get at least 10 phone calls a day. I
so
don't-
10 contacts.
No, 10 conversations.
Yeah, that's what I mean,
Yeah, 10
okay.
conversations. My CMAs, I need to do a little, I'm doing more, because I haven't done enough of those. And I'm happy to hear the things I can say to someone. I don't want to say as a reason to do a CMA, but I want to be able to do more CMAs. I need more practice on that.
Okay.
Open houses, I'm finding that I'm not getting enough leads from the open houses, so that's why I'm going to generate the farming. So I'm going to be handing out flyers. I've got about 250 flyers I have to hand out.
Okay.
in 3 companies.
So have you been making 10 contacts a day for a while now?
For about 2.5 weeks.
Okay, okay, so too soon to
But
judge.
too soon, but I'm seeing results.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, so you're gonna continue with that. Okay, Linda,
Oh, hi. I've been in real estate my whole life.
almost as long as me.
As our leader.
Yeah, almost as long as me.
And I'm kind of in a position of my life where I'm figuring out what I want to do. Have I reached the financial goal that I set for myself for not only retirement, but looking further than that, leaving that to your children, et cetera, doing the trust. And now I'm thinking about, what do I want to do? What do I want to do with all the knowledge that's up here? Do I want to still do real estate? Or I've been doing for another brokerage some what we call broker hotline calls. I've been doing some teaching. So I don't know, I think I'm at a crossroads where what do I want to do for the rest of my life? I have a lot of energy. My sister, who's only 14 months older than myself, has got stage 4 cancer. I'm the healthy one in the family. My first profession was nursing, so I've kind of taken a step to help her now. She's chosen not to cut it, so I give her IVs every 3 days. So that part of my life is directing that personal part. But do I really want to dig in the trenches and do real estate? That's why my 3 acronyms that I say CPC, cut the crap, that makes me different than everyone else. What you want to know is what's in my head, so I can give you the happy hollow that says you can be there for the most money in your pocket.
So it sounds to me like this month, I would challenge you, Linda, to sit down and set up what your goals are and what would be the paths that you'd want to take. Because like you, my situation is I don't have to work and haven't had to for a long time. And it is great, but I love working. So I think you need to figure out how much of this do you want? I don't want 65 deals a year anymore. But I'd like a deal or 2 every month, because that keeps my fingers in it. But I still want to do all these other things. So can you do that over the next 2 weeks and then maybe sit down with me and let's look at that?
I would
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you.
My husband's been on 10 years, and I have a little boyfriend that I met in the 7th grade. And so we've been seeing each other, but he lives in Las Vegas, and so he doesn't monopolize all of my time.
No.
But my husband was a Delta employee for 32 years, so I fly free. So I can fly down and fly back home. I've done it in the same day.
Yeah.
Just have one.
Yeah.
And then say,
Right.
oh, can you get over here?
Well, I want you to figure it out and have a plan B. Okay? All right, we were just talking about the next 80 days. In 80 days, work days, the year will come to an end. And we're talking about, is the business that you did in August, is that enough to reach your goals? Because in real estate, we can change on a dime, and a dime is 90 days, and you got 80 of them left. So is your business where you want it to be year-to-date at the end of August? It is, okay. So do you need to make any changes to what you're doing in these next 80 days for your personal goals?
I need to capture future prospecting, not getting lost in current business.
Okay,
Balance.
okay.
Current
So,
business and prospecting.
yes. So I'll use that as an example because that really is such a common problem. And I call it this: we tend the baby that we're working on right now, the listings, the sales, the under contracts, the buyers that are, that we're showing houses to. We tend to those and we forget to continue to create. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. And really, the only way I know to do that is, one, make sure that your database is all automated. Is yours all automated?
Struggling. My emails are struggling.
Okay. So do you have them in a database where you have a plan? You're using one of the touch systems?
But I've been using Kimbers and I kind of fell off the wheels. The wheels fell off. Yeah.
They're redoing something and she hasn't
With the
gotten
head,
the
so
plan
it was
up.
like plan 7, 8, 9, and I was like, hang on, I'm supposed to be putting them in the next. And she says, oh, it's coming and it's gone.
Yeah.
So I have been trying to utilize what.
Okay. Are you going to the mastermind this afternoon in South Valley, the Capper Mastermind? Okay. All right, so I'll see if I can catch Kimber and find out what's going on that.
Because I loved the plug and play.
Yes.
And I actually got people responding to those emails. But if I have to create it.
No, I don't want you to create it. You don't need to create it. Second thing, do you keep a copy of your database with their names, their phone numbers, and 4 columns in your car? In the console of your car?
No, I have it on my desk.
Okay, no.
In your car.
Because,
Like an Excel spreadsheet.
yes, like an Excel spreadsheet. And because as we're driving to and from appointments, to and from home, there's critical time there that I can talk to 6 people in my database. And then when I get home or pull to the office, I just put the date in the column of the when I talk to them. And I can't move to column 2 till I got everybody in column 1 done. And that's the way I force myself to talk to the ones I don't want to talk to. Right, right, exactly.
People have said, if you aren't willing to call them, why the hell?
Then take them off, yeah. And if they stay on for a year and I did not make that call, they come off.
Yep, they have to.
Yeah,
Your
so
database has to be functional.
automating is that one. The second one is putting those in a place that is really, in your car is downtime. It's radio, it's news, it's, downtime. You can be constructive using that downtime if you have that list in your car with you. So I think there's that. And the other is setting aside, maybe in your case, half an hour to 1 hour that you actually make those calls. And I would suggest doing it in the morning because your clients and tenders do not need you as much then as they will later.
There's a time of day that I just need to.
Yeah, whether it's 9 to 10, 10 to 11, whatever it is, you need to schedule, you're going to schedule 1 hour, 5 days a week, and then you're going to put that in your car. Pardon?
Just to think about next, whatever.
Yep.
What's next.
Yep. So I think if you do that, you'll get more purposeful. You've got to protect it. Nobody's going to protect you if you don't protect yourself. And so it feels good, productive, caring to tend this deal, but the reality is it causes you to have business that's like an EKG. I'm up, oh look, there's nothing. Okay, build back up, oh, I'm up, look, there's nothing. That's what comes of this. So we have to avoid that. Linda?
I just wanted to say, with your car, I've done for years, I call it red light calling. So every time I stop at a red light, I call somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Think about how many red lights you have
Yeah.
for any given day.
Yeah, just keeping it in your car. I can get 6 done a day just in my car. But you gotta be careful so you're not calling the same 6 because you like them the most. So that's why the columns, the 4 columns, because you gotta talk to them once a quarter. So it's an easy way to track who have I not talked to this quarter.
What I've done with my SOI is send them my open houses when I do them.
Mhm.
So, you know, the campus plan ended, so every open house I do, bam, on Thursdays, so today's on my list to do. Have my little flyer, just change the picture, put the date in, put some specs and say, hey, open house this weekend. And it's easy, I just make the changes, done.
Well, you can do that. That's not the same as talking to them. So I want to do the marketing and I want that to be as automated as possible, period.
Are you using Command for your emails or MailChimp or what are you using?
I'd have to ask Russ because it's automated and I don't have to do it.
Command, they don't have the team function yet for emails, and I'm waiting for it. That would be the other question for Cooper. Because
Okay.
personal, you can send emails from Command, which is great. I'm paying $75 a month for it, I may as well be using it.
Right.
But the team function is not there for emails yet, and so I'm having to design the email and then pull it back into the smart plan and add everybody. It is so time intensive.
That's not making sense.
No, it's not making sense.
Okay. All right.
I have another point to talk about when we go to this.
Okay. No, that's good. You're good. Go ahead.
Conversations with for sale by owners, and I'm not talking about getting business, I'm talking about being in the deal when they don't have an arm's length view of the transaction, and I'm finding it really difficult. I know this for sale by owner, and now I'm here in due diligence having to negotiate a roof and boiler repairs, whatever, and they're extremely resistant, and I'm trying to, like if there were another agent on the other end, I mean, it's just a frank conversation, these are problems with the house. What has your experience been dealing with for sale by owners when they are, I just can't deal with them like an agent, it's really difficult.
Yeah, you can't. And it may be that these particular ones you're not going to be able to, because not everybody is built the same way. I guess for me, my trick, whether it's at an open house or talking to a for sale by owner or working with another agent on a deal, is to try to come from curiosity rather than telling them. So my question.
They're probably feeling that, right? They always feel the pressure.
Yes, yes. So Mark is our seller. And so Mark, you know, we did an inspection. The roof has less than 3 years life in it. And even getting a mortgage is going to be impossible in that situation. Did you know about the roof?
Not to that degree.
Okay. Okay. You know roofs have to be repaired or replaced every so often, right? Yeah.
More than every 50 years.
Yeah, probably more than every 50 years. And that's just a maintenance issue that you hadn't addressed at that point. And so for my people to be able to get a loan and be able to move forward, it's going to require a new roof. And they're going to ask you to do it. But here's my concern. When a house has a bad roof, every buyer is going to ask you to do it. So I'm sorry that I'm the first one telling you all of this, but let's talk about how you might be able to get that roof in, whether it's for this buyer or the next buyer, because it's now your biggest hurdle to getting to your goals. So do you have the money set aside? Okay. I've got a roofer that I could recommend that, because we're under contract, would probably be willing to get paid out of closing. You could do it that way so you don't have to dig in your pocket right now. Would that work? Okay. Travis at VIP Roofing, why don't we call him right now and see when he could get out and take a look? He can give you a bid. If you're not happy with that bid, and I use him a lot, he's a very fair roofer, you could find a different one. And maybe you'd find somebody who'd be willing to take a delay in payment, probably not, but maybe, if you're a one-up. But I suggest you get this done right now, because it's just going to be the hurdle that's going to keep you from your goals.
Perfect.
Okay?
Oh, and we're proposing it easier. I think it could be an insurance.
So maybe one option would be, let's try that.
Let's try insurance before you sell.
Yes, if that doesn't work, then, then they're gonna say it's deferred maintenance and it's on you again, whether it's this buyer or the next. And so let's talk about what would plan B be? And I go right into my guy might, if you don't have the money in your pocket, and none of them have the money in their pocket. But it's just, I need them to kind of be thinking those answers in their head.
Take responsibility for it and realize that this is a problem now.
It's a problem he has. It doesn't matter who the buyer is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I can take them away from thinking my guy's the bad guy, that's what I want to do. So it's out of curiosity.
Thanks for those words.
Yeah.
Are more people still doing clue reports?
I don't know that they're doing clue reports, but I will tell you that it's going to get, when you got a 50-year-old roof, it's going to show up on an appraisal as a bad, and they're not going to lend on it. And we're also going to have every single insurance agent, and I didn't even get to that one because that's the secondary. Nobody's going to insure it. Every insurance company now is going out and looking at the properties before they do in the insurance. Yeah, it's a big, And so we're not going to get past that one, but I start with the obvious one. If I get nowhere there, then I'm going to go to the next one, which is, even if you could find a buyer that maybe it was cash. You know where the next problem is with that darn roof hurdle? Insurance. Nobody's going to insure it. It's unsellable without it being replaced. And I'm sorry to be the one telling you about the hurdle.
Can you see the empathy in her voice?
Yeah,
That's excellent.
yeah,
She lowered her voice. I really got to practice that, Lee.
yeah. Now, I was going to say, I think it's Annie and Lizzie who both have said, oh yeah, you got to learn the lean in and whisper that Lee does. It's I lean in and whisper.
I've got the dominant.
Oh, I have dominant.
What to do, yeah.
Yeah. But if you come from curiosity, and Telly said it to me at that open house, he said, it was so interesting. Here he is, the agent at this open house, and he's introduced himself and blah, blah, blah. And I just asked some question. I can't even tell you what question it was. And she just walked right around him and zoomed in. And it was like, he's like, oh my God, she tells you everything. But it's all about the approach, the questions, being curious. Being curious. I think curious will get you everywhere. And I think that with Barbara and her having problems with open houses, I think honestly, Barbara, it's all about the asking of the questions, the being curious, and I'll be in the other room. And I said to somebody at another open house I was at, and I can't remember who was hosting it, but I went to check on that one. It was Chris McGee. And the lady's in the entry and I'm in the living room. And she says, well, I think it's too much for the work to be done. And I said, well, if you wanted one that the work was done, there's one for $725,000 that Chris could show you, and that would show you what that would buy. And she said, well, I can't go that high. And I said, then if you want to be in this neighborhood, you'd have to be doing the work. So I said, maybe this neighborhood just isn't right for you. I do the takeaway, yeah, and they're like, hold it. What if I want this neighborhood? It suddenly, but if you're having it in a conversation where you're thinking about them and just worried about them, then it's pretty easy to have those kind of conversations. And they don't get talked to by other people that way. And that's what's appealing in that conversation with them, is they are more likely to say, Okay, we better do that. Okay, well, look at Mama Jessie. How are you? I have not, thank you, hon. I've not seen baby.
Yeah, I think next time I'll bring her in.
Okay,
A little bit.
I know. I'm just anxious. I'm just anxious.
She is earthquake.
Okay, well, we've got 1 minute left. Sorry, Jess. We started at 10. It's okay. I know, it's okay, it's okay. Jess comes every month, so I am used to having Jess here and was thinking you were home doing baby stuff. So a brief synopsis was, my question is, you have 80 business days between now and the end of the year. And if your business is not producing at the level you want it to be right now, so for example, Nate came in and told us what he's doing. His is now producing at the level he wants. Josh has shared with us, he's doing 2 a month, he needs to do 3 a month. So what are you going to do differently was my question. Whether it's the 75 hard that they've been talking about, whether it's, you know, clicking into the Roost, which is what Nate's done to help him get more deals. Because that's when you can check in and check out anytime you want. So it's a kind of on-demand way to get a resource. So have you thought a little about it? Because you've been out now for almost 2 months with this baby, and stepping back in, you know, you go from a dead stop, how do you get to 65 miles an hour quickly? So have you thought about that, Jess?
Yes, it's part of why I'm here. I did reach out to my clients about a month ago, so I'm not in.
Good.
But I want to reach out again and say, yeah, sure, I have baby, but I'm in.
Yes, yes, yes. But the baby and I are ready to roll.
Yeah.
Baby and I are ready to roll. Might you use the pumpkin patch event and say, I'm going to bring the baby to the pumpkin patch. I'll have her dressed as a pumpkin. You can't pick her, but you can come and pick your own pumpkin. And just come and meet me there. I'll have refreshments, and I'd just love to see you. It's an outdoor setting. It's over at Wheeler Farm. That might be a good way for you to kind of get everybody gathered back around you again and have a reason to call them. Okay? That's what I would do. And do you get enough business, Jesse, from your SOI, or do you need to add something else to your lead gen or your tool belt in order to have more closings?
I need to add something else. Bruce was on the, yeah, it was something I was listening to just before I.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you, I think you should talk to Nate for 5 minutes, because he's just done that where he stepped away after, you know, a couple of years and had to jump back in. He got 9 listings last month. So he stepped right in quickly. And then Marita would be the one I would talk to about Roost. But I would talk to Nate he'll tell you the things that he added. He was in here earlier, but I know he'd spend a few minutes with you and do that. And I think evaluating what do you need to add to it. How many of you are going to make a list of your own personal SOI with their phone numbers in 4 columns and put it in your car? It literally is like the easiest thing in the world to do. And just keep it in your car. That way, if you're at an open house, you can go pull it out and say, I'm at an open house right now, Barb, but I'm over in Draper and you're in Sandy, and I thought I'd call and say, hey, what you doing? I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs. Talk to me for a few minutes. Who do you know would like to live in Draper? Oh, yeah, haul it in. Haul it in. You can export it out. You can export it out. I don't know how, but I know you can export it out. And I always do my SOI as an Excel spreadsheet, because that will also download into Command, but that way it's always in an Excel spreadsheet format that I can access. I've got mine on my desk. Yeah. So I think doing that would be a good idea. Okay? Open houses have been really big. I mean, we looked at this last week, and even on a holiday week, I think we had one person get busted. Was that you? In that group? Yeah, I was amazed at how many on a holiday week we've had, but I think people are, and it's been that way for about a month or so, that there's quite a few people out at open houses. So that may be another Another way to do it is do open houses, if you're not currently doing those. Okay? And Jesse, there's always tons of houses that you can hold open, you know, in the office. So if you don't have one to hold open yourself, believe me, there'll be somebody that does. Okay? So I think that'd be good. Well, thank you all very much for coming. And if you need a 75 hard, it's right here. Sheet of what Linda is doing and what many of the agents are doing and what Nate is doing, and it's part of his success. Okay? Thank you.